Assuming that you guys already downloaded the SPP in your desktop, you guys will need to extract it in a folder. The folder structure is going to be like this, and there is going to be a folder, HP. You're going to have to drill down to SW packages, and after that, you will actually find out the application HPSum.exe. You can click there. Let me minimize this guy. And you will see HPSum coming up. The first screen that you guys are going to see is the welcome screen. This screen is very important because it will let you know that there are a couple of different things, that new features, new functionality, release notes. If you don't want to see any more of that screen, you actually can go to the lower part where we have this checkbox and say, don't display this page again. The utility is very straightforward. You can see the breadcrumbs on the top that you have the source selections, the select targets, and the review install. Right now, let's proceed with the next step, that is the source selections. By default, HPSum is going to actually read all the contents in your repository that we are pulling the SPP. In this case, we already have several components. We can see the contents here in this link, and we will be able to drill down the SPP. If you want to actually see more data of each component, you can click it and it will give you the information for the description, for the installation notes, and some of the version history of that component. After you have all your components in your repository, you can proceed. But if you want to add a hotfix, like Kim was mentioning, you actually will be able to do it going through the button here in the bottom, Add Repository, and you can choose both firmware only or software only. You define a name, and you browse it wherever you have it, and HPSum will grab it and be part of your repository. Okay. You have another option to pull the latest from HP.com. In this section here, at the moment that you check this, it will start pulling from HP.com, as well as if you already previously downloaded, you will be able to select this guy. If you have a proxy in your network, we will be able to set the settings for that. There are a couple of components that it needs to be configured previously. And in the SPP, that's what we have here. We have 8 components. And you guys will be able to set up each one. This will help actually to set up when you have multiple targets and so on. For now, we have another option. We can generate the reports, but I will show that in a couple of steps later on because I want to show all the reports at once. Let's move on to the next step. By default, HPSum is actually going to grab the local host. Then we are going to see at the beginning the local host. And we actually can enter the credentials. It's going to prompt you for the username and the password. But in this case, I know that I'm in the same local username. Then I can use this option here, use current credentials. And it's going to kickstart the discovery. What it's doing the discovery internally is actually gathering all the inventory for your firmware and your driver pieces. Then HPSum is smart enough to grab the components that you already previously gathered from your repositories and do the matching of what it needs to be deployed. You also have a capability to find targets by an IP range, port address scan, or an LDAT remote for remote targets. As you can see here, we have some feedback what is happening in the background. In previous versions of HPSum, we didn't have that opportunity. It was just a very wizard-like. This is still being a wizard, but right now we are getting more feedback of what is happening. When you have a large list of targets here, you will be able to manage some groups because it is interesting that you want to have maybe a department here for networking, and you will have all those targets there. If you want to add a new target, this is the, let me see if I can remember my IP for an OA. If for some reason you guys don't have the type of the target, HPSum will be smart enough that it will understand that it's not a server, that maybe it is an enclosure or an ILO. Right now, I'm going to leave it as a server. Or let's just put it like an OA because I know that it might be an OA. You can type the credentials, and we hit OK. As we can see, we're still working in our local host, and it already gave me that it's a server. It's already recognized a bunch of stuff. When it's doing this, I want to mention it that there is different ways, and right now we are showing the UI, but you can actually script this. And the way that you will script it, you can go to the same folder, and there is a file that is called CLI help.txt, and what it's going to be is actually all the different commands that you can perform. There's one that is very interesting that is called dry run. Here, dry run, that actually it will try to do the deployment and fake it out. It actually won't do it. As well, let me go back to the application because probably already finished. Yes, already finished. Then if you want to add some parameters or script it, you will be able to do it. I also recommended when you have a large number of targets to put it in an input file. The input file, you will define it, and it will be part of the CLI, and you will have all your targets there. The definition of this input file is in this help and as well in the user guide. It is an INI file, then it's very straightforward. Okay. Then in that case, you don't need the UI to visualize it and all that. This is one of the very nice features that we added for 5.x. It was to be able, as you guys remember, I hid my IP address for my OA administrator, right? Then in this case, HPSum is able to discover the whole infrastructure just based on that IP address and that credential. Why? Because the OA already has the tokens to be able to tell us that there are several ILOs in my enclosure plus a VC. In this case, it's a good practice to actually have everything in line in the same baseline. Then I'm going to choose to add all of them. Then it's going to kickstart, and I didn't have to actually add the credentials for the ILOs, or I didn't have to add the other credentials. Then one thing that I want to mention here is that if you have a G8 server and you have properly installed AMS, you will be able to pull the IP addresses of the OS as well for your targets, because right now we are getting only ILOs because in this enclosure I only have G7 servers. Let's wait for this to complete. When it's doing this, I want to mention that we can schedule an update. If for some reason maybe we need to schedule on Saturday, then you will be able to choose all your targets that you have available, create a schedule, and set the time, and it will remain the service up and running. A couple of the things, we support Linux and Windows. Then, as Kim was mentioning, we have the SDR, and we are thinking to release the HPSum as an RPM as well. It's almost completing. I'm still discovering. Also, one interesting feature here is to be able to see the targets, because sometimes you have that many, and you will be able to hide and hide the targets that you don't want to see by groups or by targets. Let's finish. Let's just wait for these two targets to finish. And it completed. As you guys can see, when it completes, it blues out the button, then we can proceed with the next action. Let's proceed with the next action. This step is called review and install updates. And we have a couple options here. You will be able to force the installations here. You will be able to downgrade and rewrite, and you will be able to select it by bundles, firmware only, or software only. There are also some options for the reboot, because in some instances you don't want to reboot your target at the moment of the installation, then you can delay it by a specific amount of seconds. In this instance, I can see all my targets that they are already up to date for these ones, but I would like to generate a report. And the different types of report is going to be the inventory report. I'm going to select it. The target firmware details, what is going to be applicable depending on those targets, and if there is any dependency problem in there. You have two formats. You have HTML and XML. Right now, for displaying purposes, I'm going to choose HTML. And after that, I'm going to hit generate, and we're going to wait for the browser to come up with the reports. The first report came up. We are waiting for the next two. And it has to pop up the next one. Okay. Let me go back to this report. This report is actually going to show us what is in our repository. If we want to drill down the number of firmware components, we can go here. And maybe it is kind of small to see, but let me try to see if I can make it bigger. It's a little bit bigger now. As you guys can see, we can see the components, the name, the type, the version, the location, and the description. Then you can get all this data in XML as well. Then, but the interesting report is actually this one. Here is going to tell us all the devices that you have selected, how many critical updates do you need, and how many recommended updates. Let's drill down to the critical components. It's telling me that I have my target, that it has the system ROM and is ready to update and is critical. And it's telling me the installation version and some additional information. Then as you can see, the data, it is very useful because you can get a snapshot of what is happening in your server with the current version. Then after you decide that you want to deploy, you actually can go back to the application and select the components. You can select by bundles or by the components. You can drill down, and you will be able to see the component that you want. In this case, I want just to deploy for this demo a couple of components here. This one will be okay. Let's proceed with that one. We can start the installation. After the installation come up, I will expect it to see the result of what is happening. As well, we are having an estimated time. This estimated time is actually based on the time that is going to take for that component to finalize. Well, let me go back to the report. If you guys need to actually see what happened after that, you might be able to see and run the report and hit reanalyze. And when you hit reanalyze, you will be able to rerun the report and double confirm that you have your latest firmware.